Hello, everyone. My name is Anae Agostini. I'm CEO of CID Insurance Programs, and I want to welcome you to our webinar today, How to Become a Manufacturing Insurance Pro. We're lucky enough to have Teresa Cochran with us today, who's going to be our instructor, and as Jacob Cole, who's our marketing specialist, who works in the background and makes everything run smoothly. So what are our logistics going to be today? You guys will, of course, most of you have attended many webinars. You're usually muted and will be in this one as well, but you will be able to hear, but not speak. But your voice is important to us, so please post questions in the chat room at any time throughout the webinar, and we will stop and answer them as we go. There's a short survey at the end, and we would love your feedback there as well, so we can help tune our webinar experiences for you. So let's see what our agenda is today. Okay. Objectives today are we want you to be able to identify and understand different types of manufacturers. We want to understand the risk exposures and learn what coverages they would need, right? Because it's a different beast, manufacturing. And then we want you to become familiar with the important underwriting criteria for manufacturers. There's some similarities, but each class of business type of manufacturer is going to be a little bit different. And then how do you properly and competitively insure manufacturers? So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Teresa.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. So today we'll be talking about manufacturers. So first off, let's define what a manufacturer is. They place their own name or label on a product. They may alter the product by repackaging or relabeling the product. They may import a product from a foreign country. They may have their own product made in a foreign country. They also may create, produce, assemble, or make a final product or part that can be found in another entity's final product. So in my experience, it's the third and fourth bullet point that tend to confuse my retail brokers the most. So let me explain it this way. When your client is bringing in a product from another country, they are now taking on the product liability exposure of that product. The end user of the imported product will not sue the company in China where it came from. They will sue your client's company, the company they purchased it from within the United States. On this next slide, I compiled a short list, but certainly not an inclusive list, of different manufacturing categories. These manufacturers I see across my desk typically fit under these categories. So do you notice how aerospace, automotive, and chemical manufacturers are not listed here? I did that on purpose. They aren't listed here because those three categories are some of the hardest manufacturers to find a carrier for and ones I recommend avoiding. I would try to stick to these categories when going after manufacturing businesses. So let's say you're in contact with the owner of a manufacturing company. What types of questions do you think you should be asking to not only pre-qualify them as a good account to go after, but also to understand what their business is? It can be hard to understand the manufacturing industry because there are so many different types, which is why it is really important to ask them questions. These are going to be some of the questions that are running through my head when I'm looking over a new submission to see if it's something my carriers have an appetite for. What products are they selling? It's really helpful if the client can provide a website address or even marketing brochures that list the items they are manufacturing and selling. Where are the products being made? If the applicant says they are making the products in-house, they're going to have a need for business personal property to cover the equipment and tools used to make the products and to also cover their inventory. Who is the end user of the product? This is helpful when the applicant is making a component part or a single piece of another entity's final product. So when someone calls saying they are making screws and bolts, finding out who the end user is important so that you aren't wasting your time trying to find a carrier for someone who you later find out is making bolts for aerospace clients. I often receive phone calls from my retail brokers saying they need to place a machine shop. How general is machine shop? They never know exactly what the applicant is making or whom they are making the products for. And half the time they call me back saying that the applicant is making small parts for aerospace or automotive clients. So please save yourself the time and ask who will be using the product. Okay, the next question is, do they offer installation, service, or repair operations for their customers? We would want to know this in order to make sure we are covering all of their exposures. If subcontractors are hired by your client to perform these services, that needs to be accounted for on the quote. It's almost like they have a contractor's exposure along with a manufacturing exposure. So understanding their business process will help me to provide you with a bindable quote. What are their annual sales? This is going to be the rating basis for general liability coverage, and most manufacturing policies are auditable, so it is important to have the client provide an accurate sales amount. What coverages do they need? They may have contracts in place with their clients that require excess liability, or they may need a loss payee for equipment that needs to be insured. And lastly, is this a new venture or have they had prior coverage? This will help me to determine what markets I can go to for your client. We have a products liability supplemental application that I will have Jacob send you after the webinar is over. This will be a great tool to use when gathering information from your clients. So I put together a few examples of different types of manufacturers that we can go through together. The first example is a clothing manufacturer that is importing t-shirts from China and applying decals and embroidery in-house. Annual sales are $275,000, and they are selling the products through their company website. This is a growing company, so they're moving into a warehouse so they can have more space, and they would like to start selling their products through Amazon. They have not had coverage previously, but to satisfy their lease agreement for the warehouse and the Amazon contract, they need general liability coverage with a landlord additional insured endorsement and a vendor additional insured endorsement, along with a $1 million excess liability limit. They are also looking to get business personal property coverage for their inventory, equipment, and tools. Since they are selling online, cyber liability would be a great coverage to try to sell to your client. And my coworker, Lexi here, would be able to assist you with the cyber coverage. And if they have employees, of course, you need workers' comp. And we have Darby here that can assist you with that. And please feel free to pose any questions you have in the chat box. This next example is a retail store selling garden tools and equipment. The garden tools are made by a U.S. company, but the tools are labeled under the applicant's name. So the applicant is having another company make the product on their behalf. Does the applicant have a manufacturing exposure? Yes, because the products are sold under their own name or label. The applicant also repairs lawnmowers for their customers. So we were able to get a breakdown of their sales, which helps me on my end when I'm quoting. So annual sales are $1.5 million, and the lawnmower repair sales are $150,000. They do have coverage currently, but they're shopping around. So they tell us they need general liability coverage, business personal property for their inventory, tools, and also some business income coverage. This would be a good opportunity to see when their workers' comp insurance is up for renewal so that you can have all their insurance policies with your own agency. And this last case study is a brewing company that manufactures and bottles beer. They sell to local stores, bars, and restaurants. They do not have any customers on site. Annual sales are $750,000, and they're being non-renewed by their current carrier, so they need help finding a new market. It seems like a lot of carriers are getting out of different markets, so I'm sure we've all been in this situation. They do know that they need general liability with blanket additional insured vendor endorsement for their clients and business personal property for their beer making equipment and inventory. But they would like to know what other coverages they may need. So after asking questions about their operations, you would be recommending equipment breakdown coverage for their beer making equipment, spoilage coverage for the beer, business income, and inland marine coverage because they have a forklift. And forklifts are not covered under business personal property. So I hope these examples give you a better understanding of the types of coverages and different coverages that each manufacturer will need.
Quick question for you, Teresa.
Yes.
Go finish. Go finish. I'll ask it at the
Finish
end.
this one? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So some important things to remember that I hope you take away from today's webinar is making sure to ask those questions and gather the information. The more you understand about your client's business and their process, the more you will be able to help your client because these manufacturers are all unique in their own way and will have different coverage needs. And we're always here to help, so please don't ever feel stuck with the client and not knowing what they need. Give us a call, send us an email, and we'll help you figure out what options are available for your client. Okay, Nate, go ahead.
Quick question for you. If you were, there's a question about marketing, but before I get to that question, and I'll probably answer that one, I out of curiosity, because I know you see so many different types of manufacturers come across your desk, do you have any suggestions on what type of what classes that you would recommend that they go after? What's the easiest, or that that probably going to have the most success with? What are you binding? What type of manufacturing you've done binding?
Mhm. So since here at CID we're in California, we're not that far from the clothing district in LA. So we do get a lot of clothing manufacturers. We get the people that are even just sewing just your basic T-shirts, and then they sell it from there to other manufacturers to put their decals and things on. So that is why I did one of the clothing examples here today. We get a lot of furniture manufacturing where they're making tables, chairs, couches, armoires, things like that. Some of the leather goods, glassware, your jewelry manufacturers. We're seeing a lot of those. Pieces of equipment, whether it be printers, even tractors and things like that. Those are a little bit harder, so we do have to go to Kinsale for those. What else? Sign manufacturing is another big one. So they're making signs, and then they're also installing them. I do see a good handful of those. Yeah, that's kind of off the top of my head what I can think of offhand.
No, I think that's really helpful. And then as far as marketing to manufacturers, it can feel like, it's sort of like a needle in a haystack. But in general, there's so much you can do, on the internet today. You can Google at just, manufacturers in your area. There's probably a specific in the city that you live or surrounding area. There's probably a industrial area where there's a lot of, manufacturers tend to migrate together into one area of the city. So visiting that area, Googling for manufacturers in your area, I recommend that you take a look and see what, as Teresa mentioned, by different areas or cities, you probably have different types of manufacturing that are more focused on. So find out what that is in your local area and go after it. LinkedIn is another good place to take a look, and you can get contact information there, which would make it a little bit easier for you to make an introduction. We've got marketing material that for and Jacob, do we have one for manufacturing?
We don't have a specific marketing flyer for manufacturing, but we could definitely make one.
We could. I think that's a great idea. So if anyone has a specific need in that sense, we can put together a manufacturing. It would be a fillable. You put your broker information on it, and it's what we call a broker tool, marketing tool, that you can email that out to as many manufacturers as you want and see what sticks and who you could get a meeting with. So that hopefully that helps you with a little bit of the marketing. And I want to thank you for joining us, Teresa. It was a great resource of information on manufacturing. So please use her knowledge to help you write manufacturers. Visit our website. We've got lots of broker tools, and we have lots of upcoming webinars, new webinars, and then we have this inventory of recorded webinars on many coverages and many classes of business. So please take advantage of that. And then Teresa is available. Her contact information is on the screen. And so we look forward to doing business with you and thank those that are returning, are working with us currently. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.